For this. Here we go. Welcome or welcome back. It's day two of our Profitable Leads Masterclass series. And today we're talking about how the top 1%, because remember, 99% of business owners are just chasing our tail, right? On the hamster wheel, how the top 1% monetize leads daily. Who here wants daily sales to be your norm, right? Say me in the chat if you're like, yes, I want to feel like there are always people coming in, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today is how we go from what we did yesterday, and we'll kind of do a quick recap of that in just a minute, to like, okay, now how do I actually do something with these leads that I have? So yesterday, if you missed it or you just need a reminder, we were talking about how you have a gold mine in the leads that are already in front of you. And if and until you actually build out your hello to let's go system, any new leads you go chase will probably fall in the same place, right? Between the cracks. How many of us have had leads fall between the cracks, right? And so we are going to make sure that that doesn't happen again, because as business owners, we are going to take the initiative, right? We are going to be the one that picks up the ball and keeps the game of catch going and doesn't tell ourselves stories that we're just going to assume that because we didn't hear something back, that therefore they are not interested. Chances are they were just busy and distracted, right? Okay, so because you're here live, I promised you something. I promised you a playbook. So Christy's going to drop the link to that in the chat. And then Christy, as people come in, every couple minutes, you can kind of drop that in there. This is what we're going to be working from today. So if you want to pull it up next to you, you can. If you want to print it out, great. If you just want to grab a piece of paper, that's fine too. But I wanted to give you guys something tangible so that as we're working through this today, you can actually start taking action, right? I don't just want to talk at you. I want us to actually leave here having done something. Okay. The other link that I'm going to have Christy drop is to the private podcast audio feed. Now, I reached out to everyone who was registered and made sure that you have the link to that, but a lot of people still haven't clicked on it to get access. This is how you're going to get access to the replays. So even if you're on live, there's a lot of times I go back and I re-listen to something, right? Because I need to hear it again, or I just wanted to write something down or whatever. So that is going to, you guys have that access to this forever. I don't plan on taking it down. Christy's going to drop that link in there. Good. I'm so glad you're here, Carrie. And that way you guys can go back and listen to day one, and then we'll add day two in today. Okay. But before we go into day two, I want to open it up for a minute to hear any ahas or any ROTI, return on time invested, that you had from our time together yesterday. It could be just like a mindset shift around your leads. It could be a mindset shift around your following up. It could be a commitment that you're making. It could be that you actually had something happen because you actually did send messages. If you were with us yesterday, we sent a couple of messages. So maybe there was some kind of result from that. Maybe you went ahead and sent some more messages. But I just want to kind of give a couple of minutes for anyone who was with us for day one to share either an aha or a ROTI, a result, a return on time invested that you got out of our day yesterday. Does anyone want to unmute and share how that already is helping you with your leads?
I will say for me, it was eye-opening to know that it doesn't matter how much time has passed, that I can always just reach out and start another conversation and not be salesy.
Yes, I love it, right? We tell ourselves a story. It's been too much time. They're going to think I'm being weird. Chances are they didn't think about you since then. So, sorry, not sorry. People are not thinking about you. We think about ourselves and what's in our world, right? I mean, this is just, we're creatures of, yeah, our environment. So, great. Thank you, Christy. Somebody else.
This is
Motivation,
Sherry. It was a good
encouragement. I love
reminder.
it. Go ahead, Sherry.
It was just a really good reminder to just keep dripping on people until they tell you to get lost.
Hmm.
Because if they haven't told me to get lost yet, they still kind of sort of might want to buy a house or sell a house. In my
Yeah.
case, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. Sherry's a realtor. You guys, what we're talking about today works for any industry. It doesn't matter if you're a service-based industry, you're a product-based industry. I've got people who are, more like local in person versus those who are doing something online. It works because It's all about connecting the right people with what we have to offer. So I love that. And as you guys are coming in, Christy is dropping some links in the chat for you. One of them is the playbook that I promised you guys for today if you came live. And then the other one is the link if you have not yet grabbed access to the private podcast. Here's the tip on that, just so you guys know. It will prompt you to add it to your podcast library. So whatever platform you use, it doesn't matter. So I recommend open that link on your phone. And then you can just choose which podcast, what you can click on continue. It'll take you right into a link where it says which podcast platform do you want, and then it puts it right into your library, just like a regular podcast, but not everybody else can find it. So Debbie, as Alyssa found out, even if they tell you to go away, it might have been an accident. Yes, you're right. And she didn't technically tell me. I told a story yesterday about someone that was unsubscribed on my list. And so I could have told myself a story that she didn't want anymore, what I had to offer. And she was like, I didn't mean to unsubscribe if I did, like, I'm so glad you reached out. So I love that. I love that. I know somebody said motivation and encouragement. Somebody else shared with me, like the whole idea of follow-up being stewardship was really important. I've also heard stories, because I've been in conversation with many of you, about you reached out about something about business and it turned into something personal and an opportunity to pray for someone. Like, I can't tell you how many times that's happened where I reached out to follow up about something and life had just happened, or there was something, really heavy on their hearts. And I had an opportunity to pray for them, to build a connection in that way. And that is just such a gift, right? Because again, we're doing this not just to bring in sales, we're doing this to want to make an impact, right? I've also talked to some of you who reached out about something personal, and your business or what you have to offer is exactly what they need, right? But we don't actually find either of those things out unless we actually take the time to do the thing, and that is to connect, right? We are so busy checking boxes. We're creating, we're consuming, we're overthinking. I'm calling you out. But if you're not overflowing with clients, then what we're talking about this week is where you need to focus your time, right? Because remember yesterday we said there are only two things that you should spend time on in your business. Do you remember what they are? Sales, bringing in clients, right fit clients, right? We're not trying to force, a square peg into a round hole, or however they say that, and service, like getting those clients amazing results, right? That is where our time should be focused. And if we are doing those things, we should be seeing the ROTI, the return on time invested, the results, right? How many of you would like to get a good ROI and ROTI in your business, right? Like all of us, I would guess, would want to do that. But if you're like me, we've often wasted a lot of time and money being sold a lie that some trending tactic or some shiny object is going to bring in the leads, right? The sales while you sleep. But it really only works if you have a huge team, or you invest a lot of money in ads, or you sell your soul to social, right? So we are talking this week about what works and what actually is going to cost you less time and money and is just good stewardship. And yesterday, I told you that I hope that this is going to be more valuable than the last three things you paid for. So I hope you're already seeing that value. And I want you to know that my one-on-one clients pay upwards of 18K to get access to my supports for a year to build all this out and to go levels and levels and levels and levels deeper, right? So that way they can scale their reach, their revenue, and their results. But yesterday, I shared with you guys that there's an opportunity for you to come in for much less than that, right? So if you have not already checked out CEO Focus, that's where we get this one thing focus. And like I said yesterday, if you don't have a dialed in hello to let's go system, that's where you need to start, right? Because again, you can't serve people if you're not actually making sales. So we need to start there first. This would be a perfect thing to be focusing on over the next 12 weeks. We get that one thing focus. We build out your ROTI growth map, which is step by step how we get from where you are to where you need to be. And then you have the accountability to keep you on track and to help get you back on track when life happens, or you fall off, or you forget, or you get distracted, and all of that, right? So Christy's going to drop the link to that. Thank you, Christy. Read my mind. To jump in, if you want to jump in and join us, it's $97 a month if you do it over the 3 months, or $297 pay in full. And I'll be sharing today about some of the extra bonuses. It's like over $1,000 worth of stuff that you get, right? And if you join us while we're on live, you get a 1 hour, just you and me, hello to let's go power hour strategy session, where we are going to customize all of this for you and your business. Okay. So I want to start off today by telling you another story, because I was the girl who invested so much time and money over the years, right? How many of you consume a lot of training? You take the courses, right? You work with the coaches, you go to the masterminds, right? Like I did all the things, And I was always chasing that secret sauce that I thought I was missing. Remember my story yesterday about always chasing my not enoughness? Like I struggled with that for a long time in my business as well. And everywhere I turned, somebody was promising that this is finally the thing that's going to work. And honestly, like I wanted to believe it, but underneath, it was like that voice that kept saying, "You're not doing enough. You're not enough," right? That like just kept going in my head. And here's the thing. If you know anything about me, I didn't just let those programs sit in my inbox. I actually did the work. Like I showed up, I watched the modules, I filled out the worksheets, I implemented what I could, but I didn't really see, yeah, hustling harder, right? I didn't really see things changing. And it got to the point where it wasn't just costing me money, it was costing me time and peace. And I can still hear my husband every single month who would say, "Lissa, when are you going to be done paying for another coach?" How many of us have heard that, right? Or we've said that to ourselves, like, "Oh, I can't wait to be done paying this person," right? And in my own spirit, I was asking, why is this not working for me? Like, I don't know if you can relate, but like it can be very discouraging in business when we're trying to do all the right things, but we're not seeing much fruit. Anyone? Right? And then one day, like God made it really clear. The problem wasn't that I didn't know enough, right? How many of us know it's not that we need more information, it's that we need more implementation and we need to be focusing on the right things, right? And that's where I started realizing I had all this extra stuff that I was trying to do, but I really need to focus on the two things, sales and service, right? And really build the foundation with my schedules, my systems, my strategies. So then I could have this like trellis, right? If you think about like a vine, right? I'm not a vine dresser, but we do have a little grapevine that my husband is growing here, kind of. But if you just let it lay on the ground, yes, it's going to get green and you might have a few grapes pop out from time to time, but it's not going to be fruitful. It's not going to be the kind of grapes you actually want to, walk over and pluck off, right? And it's not going to produce very much. And so what a vine dresser does is they build a trellis, right? And when you build a trellis, it gives the vine something to grow up. But Lissa was just trying to jump into all the flashy stuff I saw all these people doing that I thought was going to give me the fruit. And maybe it looked like it was kind of bearing some fruit at first, but then it's like, it was like the weight dragged it down and it wouldn't really actually go anywhere and it wasn't sustainable, right? So that's where like I learned, okay, I need some kind of structure. I need something to keep me consistent and clear on where my time and attention are going, right? And this is when everything started to shift. And this is when I started creating what I'm teaching you guys today is the ROTI Method framework. I created schedules that multiplied my time, right? I created systems that streamlined my time, and I created growth strategies that focused my time, right? And I finally had a way to plug all the extra shiny things that I wanted to do into my business and actually make it work, just like the Hello to Let's Go lead system. And guess what? It did. Because now, instead of focusing or scattering my focus in 100 different directions, I know exactly what to do, when to do it, and how it's leading me towards my growth goals. Who would love that? Who would love to know exactly what to do, when to do it, and how, and actually be able to see the progress, measurable progress towards your goals, right? That's what happens when you have this framework in place, when we build the schedule systems and strategies. So here is where, right, we work on the foundation first, then we can start scaling for growth. So that's why we're not talking about new leads until day 3. Because if and until you get this system and this structure in place for your current leads, right, all the new ones that come in are going to look pretty at first, but then they're going to be falling on the ground. Okay. And the beautiful thing is, I don't feel like I'm striving anymore. And I don't feel like I'm wasting time. And I don't feel like I'm wasting investments, right? Or any of that as well. So, as a scaling strategist and as someone who helps women steward their calling and their time, I am taking a stand against the if you don't get on the latest trend, you're going to be left behind in your business. How many of you have heard if you don't get on this now, right? Like you're going to be left behind, right? Ladies, it is the timeless strategies that will always work. It is the timeless strategies that will always work. Now, I'm not saying it won't require your time, but it will actually create more ROTI, return on time invested, in less time. Who wants that, right? Yeah, great. I love that you're starting to put stuff together, Lorian. That's amazing, right? That's why I created the ROTI method, because your results are not just a vanity thing, they're a kingdom thing. Because every single person that's here is not just called to business to be a busyness owner. And we talked about a busyness owner yesterday. You're doing all the things, but you're on the hamster wheel. You're not going anywhere, right? But we are called to be a CEO. And in my world, I've redefined that as a Christ-empowered operator. You are a Christ-empowered operator of the business that you have and lead and the life that you have and lead, right? And we are called to steward these two things to make an impact. And when it comes to our business, You can't fully serve someone until your business name is on their credit card statement. Did you know that? Like, yes, you can inspire them if they find you on social or they open your email and yes, you are making an impact, but you can't fully serve them, right, to the deepest level that you're called to until your business name is on their credit card statement. That's just a value exchange, right? And so when I talk about daily sales, we're not like chasing those numbers like the world does just to get the sale. We are like stewarding opportunities to serve in a way that you are called to make a difference in the life of somebody else, right? Remember, these are not just leads, they are real people. Let me go ahead and pin me. I just realized I didn't do that. There we go. So that way you can see me as we're going. So that is why we're doing this work this week, right? Because we are called to business, we're called to make a difference, right? And time is our most valuable business growth asset. But if we don't have the schedule systems and strategies framework, there's no trellis that's going to help us scale and sustain that kind of fruitfulness. So that's what we're talking about. And if you decide to join, some of you have already jumped into CEO Focus, and I'm so excited. And I've seen so much growth. I mean, like people jump in and start seeing things happen in the first 24 hours, right? Because like finally I've got to focus and I've got some rails to run on, right? There's nobody that like gives us like a manual, right, for how to run a business. We just like get all this stuff that we think we need to do and we kind of duct tape it together and hope that it works. I'm going to tell you, I've tried that, right? And it's like when I'm taking a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this and things aren't like made to go together, then it feels like everything's all over the place because it probably is. Right. So, Christy can go ahead and drop that link. If you do decide that you want to join us while we're on live, you're going to get, I have a few of those one-on-ones left where we're going to actually sit down and look at your Hello to Let's Go system. Okay. So make sure you tell me in the chat I'm in. No worries, Lauren. And that way we will have that. But before we go any further, let's pray and commit the rest of our time to the Lord. So God, we just thank you for calling us to this business. I thank you for the way that you have equipped each person listening today, whether on live or on the replay, to be able to do exactly what you have called them to do in exactly the way that they can only they can do it. And I thank you for the fruitfulness that you have prepared for us because you have prepared this work for us to do. And so, God, I just pray that you'll give us faith to see our enoughness in you and to see the opportunities that you are putting in front of us. May we be faithful stewards of what you have entrusted to us to give you more glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Did you know John 15:8 says, "It is to my glory that you bear much fruit and so prove to be my disciples." Like I believe, this is not a prosperity gospel thing. I believe as believers, when we are abiding in the vine, we should be fruitful. And it should be so much fruit that people are like, how is she doing that? What's her secret? Right? And then we get an opportunity to share about what the difference is that we're doing it with the Lord. Okay? We should be having so many clients that we're serving, right? That people are like, can you teach me what you're doing? Right? So, okay, let me ask you guys this. When I talk about daily sales, tell me in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel in converting leads on a daily basis? How confident do you feel? And I will go in and make sure everybody's muted because I saw a couple of you commenting on that and I might have forgotten to click that button. There we go. There we go. Okay. Scale of 1 to 10. How confident do you feel in your ability to be bringing in sales on a consistent basis? Depending on what you do. I mean, some of you, like for example, Sherry, you're a realtor. So you may not have people every single day, right? Okay. So I'm seeing like the highest, I do see an 8. I got some 6s, 2s, 1s. Okay, so we've got some room for growth, right? Right. And a lot of us, I talk to so many business owners who are frustrated and exhausted when it comes to this area. And then we feel like, well, I have this thing I want to do, right? But I'm spending more time and money, and not making anything and not really seeing the fruit of it. So, okay, let's talk about this because we talked yesterday about some sales stats that you need to know. So let me just kind of go over a few that I mentioned. 60% of customers say no at least 4 times before they ever say yes. Did you know that? 48% of salespeople never make a single follow-up attempt. 80% of sales require at least 5 full follow-ups, which makes sense if 60% say no at least 4 times, right? And over 40% of people give up after 1 follow-up attempt. So 48 don't even make a single one. 40% give up after 1, right? And what worked back in 2015, 2020, even 2023 is not working now. But everyone wants to sell you their marketing secret sauce because that's what worked for them back in the day, but it's not working in 2025, right? What happened especially around, right, COVID 2020, all these businesses popped up because we had time, right? Everybody was home and it was like, what can I do? And so people invested in a lot of different things, but a lot of them didn't work, right? And so they lost time, they lost money, and they lost trust. And so that's why now it does take some effort to build trust because remember we talked about yesterday, connection and trust is the number one reason why people buy, right? And here is where we have to be really careful, ladies. Automation does not build real trust, or at best, it's really slow. Okay. Right? Like, will you feel as connected to someone who just kind of keeps randomly popping up places versus someone you've actually had some conversation with? Yeah. And there are so many online scams out there. So, yes, I think people are kind of wary, right? Like, are you for real? Can you really help me? I've wasted time and money before. Like, I am a little trigger shy, right? Which is why I'm encouraging you to pair the personal connection with the automation. You can have the shiny funnel, but only if you do what we're talking about this week. Only if you have a Hello to Let's Go system, right? And remember that anything that's automated, it will cost, it will take a lot of volume and a lot of time. Who has a lot of time and tons of people, right? To just keep throwing all of our time and money at, right? So remembering the person on the other end is a person, which is why we need to build a relationship where we actually understand their needs and, ready for this, their timeline. Not just because you want to make a sale today or this week, but because it's what they need and when they need it. That is how we make it a win-win. That's how we avoid being that slimy salesperson, right? You may call someone. I called somebody yesterday, follow up about something. She just found out she's pregnant, right? Life has changed, right? And so it may not be, right, the time right now for what it is that we're having a conversation about, but I took the time to ask instead of just trying to push something on her or just assuming that my emails would convince her. Okay. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about how to attract more leads. But remember, there is gold in the leads you already have. So if you know how to invest time building a trust in a relationship with the ones you already have, you will start seeing the daily sales coming in. You will start seeing the things happen. Okay. So yesterday, we talked about this. Most people tell me they don't have enough leads. Are you starting to see right now that you have leads? I often say, you can see the sign behind me, you have time. It's like my signature phrase. My next one might be, you have leads, right? I'm going to prove it to you right now. Okay. So whether you use your computer, permission to multitask right now. Okay. Use your computer or your phone. I want you to open up your main social platform. Go right now to your main social platform. Just pick one. You may have several. Just pick your main one. And I want you to notice or write down the number of followers that you have on that main platform. Now, if you don't use social media at all, that's okay. You'd love to see what my weekly work like looks like. I love sharing with my clients what it looks like, Micaiah. So let's have a conversation. Yes. Okay. So let me ask you again. Do you have leads? Are there people who are following you for some reason? Now, does 100% of them, especially if it's Facebook, right? And you know, some of them are just random people or family and friends or things like that. So even if it was half of that, would you agree with me that you have leads? Yeah. Now here's my next question. Do you have an email list? Some of you may not yet. That's okay. I'm not here to judge, and that's something I would love to help you build because I think that that is a way that we have a lot more control, and so do our subscribers in being able to connect and have that kind or not. I wouldn't say that's a connect, but it's a touch point, right? So if you have an email list, I want you to go open up that back end. How many subscribers do you have? You have leads, right? Okay. Then every single one of us has one of these things. I don't think it gives us a number, but I want you to open up the contacts right now. Go to wherever the contacts are on your phone. And I just want you to scroll. I mean, the average person, I think, like probably doesn't have any, less than 200 people in here. Now, are these all exactly people that need what you have? No. But do you think there might be some in here? Yes. Now add those three numbers together. Okay. How many followers you have? How many subscribers you have? How many contacts you have? Even if it's half of what that total number is, you have leads. 1,369 in your phone contacts. Girl, you must be a really good friend, Carrie. I love it. I love it, right? Like we have leads and we have time. Do you believe me now? My next question is, now that you believe you have leads, do you have a system to monetize them? And I'm not saying again, monetize them like in a way of I'm trying to, just make money, but like, do I have a way to help them say, yes, I do actually what you want and to be there, that value exchange? Or are you depending on some automated email nurture sequence? Once they come into your world, then that's going to do the work for you. For most people, it's not because they didn't even see your email. They're not going to see your post, right? And here's the thing. Are they actually going to remember what they opted in for or how they got on your list? Sometimes I've had somebody's email show up in my inbox and I'm like, how did I even get on this person's list? I have no recollection of ever signing up for them, right? Do they even remember your name or what you do? Or like how what you do is actually connected to their need or problem, right? Like, no, they probably forgot they requested the freebie. They probably like forgot like what your name was, or they didn't see your email or open it or read it or even think about it, right? They were just on to the next thing, right? So this is why if we think that we don't have leads and we just have to get more people coming into our funnel is not going to give us more sales because we have a leak, right? And so many business owners waste a lot of time and money chasing new leads. And even if you do get them, if you don't have a hello to let's go schedule system and strategy for what to do with them, they will fall in the cracks. And then what are you going to do? You're going to go invest more time and money trying to find new people, chase new people, right? See how it's this cycle that doesn't really take us anywhere, right? You do need more leads. We'll talk about that tomorrow, what you can do, right? But not until you have this in place. And here's what I want to say. Most of you could hit your sales goals in Q4 with the leads you already have. You don't need a single new lead if you actually invest the time to connect, right? And so my goal is to help you start getting daily sales. And if you jump into CEO Focus, I'm going to help you 10x or more your investment in that less than 90 days. I'm not just saying that. Okay. I had this conversation with someone yesterday. I was like, okay, it's $97 a month. What would you need to sell to pay for that? And you know what? She has a membership that is worth, I think she said it was $49. I'm like, okay, two people in a month would pay for this, but I'm going to help you start getting sales weekly, if not daily. So, like, imagine what that investment can do, right? For most of you, it could just be one sale to cover $97 a month. It might be like a fraction of one sale, right? So, imagine the ROI when you start making daily sales. Am I giving you a guarantee? Am I saying you're going to make, X number of dollars? No. In fact, I recently had a client share her story and she said, I like that Lissa didn't give me a flashy number to lure me in, right? But here's what I have to tell you. It is simply math. When you invest your time in the right ways consistently, you will produce the ROTI, the results. It's just simple math. What the time I invest in is going to produce the ROTI, right? I'm not out there dancing on TikTok praying it's going to bring in more people. Okay. So that's why if you want to join us inside CEO Focus, we talk about the key three, right? The key three is a one thing focus. And again, I highly recommend it's your Hello to Let's Go system. If you don't have this dialed in and working, you may have something that you say, oh, I've already got a lead system, Lissa. Then I'm going to say, okay, show me the money. Like, show me the outcome. Is it really bringing in people as consistently as you want it to be, right? Once we decide our one thing focus, then we create this 12-week growth map. What are the steps I need to do to get this thing up and running? What are the steps I need to do to like have this thing working for me, right? So you can go from where you are to where you want to be. And then we layer in the weekly accountability meetings where you get to like have some ongoing support about what you're doing and how to troubleshoot and, getting you back on track when you got distracted or discouraged or detoured or delayed or whatever it is, right? And then on top of that, I told you I would share with you guys about some of the bonuses. You get to come to monthly networking. We actually are going to be coming together once a month to do intentional networking so you can find collaboration partners. We'll be talking about that tomorrow. You also get invited to come to the CEO Edge Book Club where we're working on this and this, right? Which then affects everything we do in our business, right? And you get access to the bonus trainings as long as you're in my world. So next week, I said anybody who comes into CEO Focus by Tuesday gets to come to a 2-hour co-working intensive workshop together where we are going to start building out your system. And I'm going to give you even more templates and we're going to do in real time, actually reaching out to people. Okay. So all of that together, like I said, is worth a couple $1,000s. So, okay, let's talk about what we need to do if we want to start converting leads into daily sales. Let me just see what Lauren had to say. I've done more for my business in the last 4 weeks with CEO Focus than in the rest of the year. Totally worth it. Lauren, that is amazing. I'm so excited for you. And it started because you got clarity and focus around what do I need to focus on right now? And then you mapped out a plan. And then you've been showing up, right, for the accountability piece. And yes, you even had some time where like life happened, but you had a plan to come back to, right? And that's what I love. That's what we need as we're building the business. Love it. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. All right. If you want to start converting leads and making daily sales, the first thing we need to understand is what types of leads you have. Okay. You have leads and time. We've already established that. There is an opportunity in those. Don't discount what you already have. And just so you guys know, it is not about the numbers. I don't care if that number, when you added up those three numbers, was 22 or 22,000. It doesn't matter. A large or small audience doesn't determine sales when you do this. Now, if you're trying to just do the automated stuff, then it's going to matter. You have to have a ton of people to get a couple people to raise their hand, but not what we're doing. We're actually making connections, right? Now, here's the thing. When you are out there doing things on other platforms, that is borrowed land. How many of us have experienced, right, where like things went away? I mean, I've heard of people like their entire account got shut down or like they got blocked or the algorithm, rules changed and all that. Like, did you know even emails have an algorithm for how they get delivered? And so recently I just learned, I did not know this, your open rates, they're about half of what it looks like because there are bots that auto open emails to make sure it's not spam. So you may look like you're getting a 40% open rate, but it's probably closer to 20 or 30%. Now, I'm not saying that to discourage you, but that's why I'm saying that's why what we're doing matters. Because, like we said yesterday, 98% of people are opening their texts, right? If I call somebody, they can hear and see that I called them, whether or not they answer. Everyone is obsessed with new leads, building a list, growing an audience, right? But they're depending on all these other platforms, and then we're losing track of them. I want you, starting right now, I want you to be obsessed with every lead that you have. I want you to start asking, who is already in my world and how can I start a conversation with them today? You have a gold mine right in front of you. Every follower, every subscriber, every member, every contact, right? Here are your goals. Number one, we want to connect with them. We're not going to assume anything. Number two, we want to qualify. Do they actually need, want, and can afford what you have to offer? And sometimes the can't afford is just a not right now. Like, that's okay. I have people that I talk to all the time who say, listen, I would love to have you one-on-one. I would love to jump into your 1-year program. I can't do that right now. So I'm not going to offer them that right now, right? But they can do, right, the CEO focus thing, right? And then we're going to nurture based on the level of relationship, right? And our goal is to keep building this relationship so that we just continue to move them closer and closer to what it is that they need. So you don't need more leads yet. But today we're going to start organizing your current leads and we're going to start like thinking about what would need to go into my Hello to Let's Go system. Who would like that, right? Say me, if you would like to start thinking about what goes in your system, because once you have the system, now you can pull the levers I'm going to share with you tomorrow to bring in more leads and you won't be wasting your time or money because they're not falling through the cracks. So open up your playbook. Notice the cover. I didn't just want it to be a picture of me, but notice what I'm doing. I'm on the phone. If you open up the playbook, and Christy, if you can drop that link one more time, I'm on the phone, right? Because I'm actually picking this thing up to like make a real connection. That's why I picked that picture. Okay, so if you open it up, the first main page looks like this, and it just says types of leads. Okay, so there are 3 types of leads. Okay, the first are, well, they're hot, warm, and cold. I'm actually going to start at the bottom for right now. Okay, cold leads are the people who don't know you yet. Cold leads are the people who don't know you yet. They might see your post. They might click on your website. They might stumble across your content, but there isn't a real relationship or trust built yet. Okay, so think of them like strangers who are walking past your shop window. One of my clients owns a shop here in town, right? So I'm sure there are lots of people who walk past her shop window. They may pause and look in, but they're not ready to buy yet. They haven't really seen all that you have to offer. They don't really like fall in love with something yet, right? But these are the leads that most marketing advice tells us to chase. Run more ads, create more content, build a bigger audience, right? But here's the thing, we talked about this yesterday. Cold leads require a lot of time and energy to warm up. And if it's not that we shouldn't spend any time there, but if you're constantly chasing the cold, you'll always feel like you're striving instead of stewarding, right? Let me just kind of read what's going on over here. What I need is how to organize my time. Girl, you are in the right place. What to do with my work hours, being in the mindset to do what I need to get done. Yes, yes, and yes. Yes, will CEO focus for 12 weeks help me dial this in? Any of you who are in CEO focus, does coming in there help you with what to do with your time? Does coming in help you with the mindset around what you're called to do? Right? Yes, yes, and yes. And thank you for commenting on there, Danielle. I appreciate that, right? Because we approach it from a heart place as well as, our calendars. Okay, love it. Love that question, Carrie. Okay, so cold leads, right? They're people who are, I mean, they're not like freezing cold, but there's not really a whole lot there. Warm leads, so we're moving up, right? They're already in your ecosystem. They are on your email list because they opted into your freebie. They are in your Facebook group or in your community. They're following you on Instagram and maybe even reply to stories or comment on things. They are familiar with who you are and what you do, but they haven't taken a next step yet. Okay, these are people, once you think about people who have shown some kind of interest, maybe they did actually say to you, not right now, a few months ago, or maybe you actually haven't heard anything. Remember, sometimes the people who are most interested are the quietest, right? How many of you have watched things that even I've done from the sidelines and not said anything? It's okay, right? We all do, right? We're kind of like, lurking over here. Like, I don't know, is this real? Is this what I need? Is this, I don't know. It's okay, right? But they have raised their hand in some way. Okay. Then we have our hot leads. These are the people who have already worked with you, bought with you, right? You've had a genuine conversation about what you offer. They see the fruit of what you do. They've experienced something. Carrie, they've already been in your chair before. You and I had this conversation the other day, right? Like, Sherry, there's somebody that you've like, built some trust with in a relationship, or maybe you did some work for them or somebody they know, right? These are people that are most likely to say yes again if you re-engage them, right? Oh, and these are also the people that are most likely to follow to like refer you to someone else. Okay, question. If someone follows you, is that warm or cold? Great question, Micaiah. I kind of like, and again, there is not like you get to decide how you want to, say that. I'm going to say for me, if someone follows me, I keep them in the cold category for right now. Once they like opt in for my private podcast or they sign up for a workshop or something like that, now they've warmed themselves up, right? They've raised their hand in some other way. If they just follow me, I don't know anything about them and why they followed me, right? And so again, our goal is not to keep them in the cold place, but to connect with them and ask the question. And we'll get to this in just a minute. Hey, I'm so glad you started following me. I love meeting new blah blah blah. Like, what kind of resources are you looking for? What are you working on related to XYZ, right? Like, here's where we can start asking questions to start, number one, warming them up, and number two, kind of figuring out, yeah, where do they fit? What are they looking for, right? But a cold person is somebody I have probably no idea. Okay. And here's the thing, those hot people at the very top are often the people we forget to reach back out to. We just assume if they want to buy or if they want to, work with me again, they'll let me know. Guys, their life just got busy. Life happened. They probably want to. They probably don't think ill of you. They just need a gentle reminder and an intentional invitation. And we talked about yesterday, right? We work with one of the last three people that's been in our world, which is why in today's market, when everyone else is chasing the cold traffic with all the complex funnels that keep everybody at arm's length, your greatest opportunity for growth lies with your warm and hot leads because they don't need convincing. They just need connection. And when you start viewing them through this lens of stewardship, you realize that follow-up isn't pushy, right? It's you being present. And we're not chasing down clients. We're now circling back to relationships. So this is going to look a little bit different for each one of you. Here's what we're going to do, okay? If you don't have this printed out, that's fine. Grab a piece of paper, right? And you're just going to write hot, warm, cold. We are going to start jotting down who falls into which category. Now, when I say that, I'm not necessarily meaning names, right? Because again, some of you have thousands of names that you just looked at, and so there's no way we can put them all on here. But think about connection points. For example, okay, starting at the top, your hot leads. Someone who has worked with you. Now, if you are brand new, this is like day one of your business and you haven't sold anything and you haven't worked with anybody, you may not have any of those kind of hot leads, but maybe there are people you've worked with in some other capacity in the past, right? So this is someone who has already purchased something from you. Current clients, they are still a hot lead, and I'll talk in a little bit why. Past clients, someone who purchased something from you. So if you have something that's a paid thing, like my planner, right? $67. You get this planner, you get a digital course, and you get the community, right? So somebody who's purchased my planner is a hot lead. They were willing to, exchange some money for the value that they were getting. Okay. I also have a mini course that teaches you how to build your ideal week. People who have purchased that. I also have a course that teaches you how to build the CEO dashboard. People who have purchased that in my world. So what is it in your world Because what we're going to be doing on the workshop next week is actually going and finding where those people are in some of those different places that they are right now so we can start collecting them in one place. Right now, I just want you thinking in categories. What are some categories of hot leads that you have? Does that make sense? So if you have already worked with, if you are currently working with people, I want you to write down current clients or customers, like let those words be, interchanged, whatever you call them, right? If you have worked with people in the past, every single person should have past clients written down. How do you find those people? Go back to your Stripe, go back to your payment thing, right? Processor, if you don't have a list somewhere, right? Like we'll talk about how to go find them when we get in the workshop next week. Right now, we're just getting it out of our brain. Where has someone purchased something from you in some way, shape, or form? Those are the categories I want you writing down under hot. Any questions about that while we're on the hot category? Simona, were you saying that you had the same question as Micaiah, or was there something else that you were saying same too? I want to make sure that I'm answering if you have a question. Any questions about who your hot leads are?
I'm just curious your thoughts on how that would work for a realtor. Because like if somebody bought from me, like you help me, they use my services to buy a house. They're not going to buy another house for 4, 5, 6, 10 years, you know?
Exactly. Hopefully, right? Yeah, we had one time we turned around in like 9 months and sold a house, but most often not. So I would still say, Sherry, because those are a great source of referrals, still put people that you have sold a house to or people you have helped sell a house in that hot category. And for you, Sherry, it might also be like referral partners. So it might not be direct people who have bought or purchased, but it might be people that you have worked together. Maybe it was a contractor, right? And you need the contractor to come in and, they were, so think about people that you've actually done. So it may not, in your case, Sherry, always be that there was money exchanged, but there's definitely been work that happened to get, they have experienced Sherry, right? They know who you are, what you have to offer. They've seen the value of it. That's really what we're saying. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Great question. Great question. Wendy says, if you're redirecting your business. Oh, yes, Wendy, I love this because, and then I'll come back to your question, Carrie. Wendy is changing her business. She has had kind of more of a life coaching business for a while, and then now she's stepping into bookkeeping. So here's the beautiful thing, Wendy. There probably are people that you did life coaching with who need your bookkeeping services or who know people who do. So I would still say, yes, put people you've worked with in the past in the hot leads category. And this is where it's really important to qualify and ask questions, right? And so be thinking about like you're probably working with business owners, right? And so you want to make sure that like, yeah, if somebody in there is a business owner, then, I'm starring them. But, or maybe they're not, but they know people who are a business owner, right? And would refer you because they've already worked with you in some other capacity. And so this is, somebody that, they would be very likely to refer you to somebody else if you were to ask that. Is that helpful? Yes, when you're making a transition, sometimes not everybody who came from one is going to be a fit for the other, but it's still a great place to start. Okay, Carrie says, I have a salon. Our hot leads clients who came to my salon with other stylists. I would just say, yeah, anybody who's worked with you, Carrie. So for sure, anyone who's been in your chair, who's actually paid you to do their hair, that's the hottest, right? Even if they came into your salon, but there's somehow like there was a really strong connection or you did something for them, maybe they paid a different stylist, but you were still a part of it. Otherwise, some of those people might be in the warm category. So, yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea. So Lorian just put an idea in there for you, Sherry. Okay, so starting to think about categories. And again, you're going to think of some category, like people that would fall under these categories later, because we're just getting the ball rolling. Okay, category number 2 is warm. These are people who have shared some kind of a need or desire with you, but they haven't closed yet. And I do like the way that I set up my system, and those of you who join us, I will be showing you the back end of my system. I have levels of warmth. So I don't just have a warm bucket, because for me, for example, if you registered for this masterclass, right, that is a warm lead. But if you actually showed up and attended a session, now you're warmer in the warmer category, right? Because now you've experienced something. I don't know for sure if you just registered for this. It's still you raising your hand, but I don't know for sure if you even listened. And if you did listen, were you paying attention? And if you did, listen, did you listen all the way through, or was it just like 10 minutes of it, or did it just get lost in your inbox? So like even inside of these categories, there will be like, gradients, I guess is the word, right? Of what that looks like. So for me, like if you have booked a CEO time audit, but you haven't come into one of my programs, then you would be a warm lead. if you've attended a workshop or a masterclass, if you've registered, for a workshop or masterclass, um, those are the people that I am putting in my warm category. Now, you could also say somebody who opted in for your lead magnet is, but for me, I feel like I still don't know enough about you, right? And you don't know enough about me for me to really know what your needs are yet. So for me, that's either the cooler end of the warm category or kind of over in the cold. But don't overthink where the lines are, okay? The point is, I'm thinking through what is the level of relationship and connection with this person. Okay, great question. Micaiah said, what about referrals? Are they warm or cold? Here's the thing. I think a referral is a warm person. You may not have connected with that person yet, but the fact that somebody else who they are already in connection with referred you, yes, I think that would be a great person to put in the warm category. But I'm not going to make an assumption, right? I'm going to reach out. Hey, so and so recommended, that we connect. Wanted to hear a little bit more about what you're looking for around XYZ, and then you're asking some questions to connect with them, qualify them, and then see where it is they fit. So for you, and this is going to be different for every business model based on, what it is that you do. Okay. So it's not like everybody has to have these exact categories, but think about like what are some of the exposures that people have to you before they actually pay you to do something. And I want you to write down a couple of those categories of those touch points that would show somebody raising their hand in some way, shape, or form more than just, I just put a heart on your post. I don't know why you put a heart in my post. Did you mean to put a heart in my post? How many of us have clicked that accidentally? Didn't mean to, right? B, what does that mean? Like, are you just liking what I said because you're trying to show love, or like, did that actually resonate with you, or whatever? So, okay, am I hearing you say the more I know about them and how I can help them, the hotter they are? What do you think, Christy? I would say so, right? And it's really not about us, right? It's really about them. So you may know a lot about them, but in that qualification process, Christy, you may find out like they have currently, because Christy works with business owners, so maybe they're actually in a pause on their business right now. And so you may know a lot about them and a lot about their business, right? But they're going to stay in that warm category until they're really ready, right? So it's really more about them. But yes, the more you know about them, the more you can gauge where are they at? How ready are they? How much of a need, want, and like desire is there for what it is that you have to offer? Yeah. Yes, Christy. Here's the thing. Again, if somebody just opts in, but you don't know anything about them, you don't know why they opted in, you don't know anything about their business or what their needs are or whatever, they're definitely going to be cooler than somebody who's actually shown up to one of those events that you have and you're able to have some connection with them. So yes, great question. All right, under the cold or cool, right? These are people who've raised their hand in some way, but I don't really know, right? So maybe like for me, my private podcast is my main lead magnet. Not the one that you guys have for the recordings here, but the scaling secrets of the top 1%. If you don't have that, let me know and I'll give you the link. So that is for me, somebody's raised their hand, but I don't know. I'm assuming they have a business, but I don't know for sure. If somebody joins my community, right, like that's another place. You may have a Facebook group. I'm assuming they have a business. I'm assuming they're a believer. I'm assuming they want to be intentional with their time, but I don't know for sure, right? If somebody sends me a connection request on social, right? Or they start following me or whatever. Like, so that's kind of think about what are maybe some cool slash cold categories where, yeah, they're there. And so I want to pay attention, right? What would be some of those categories for you? Downloading a freebie better than a like, but warm or cold? Great question. So, Lorian, again, if somebody downloads a freebie, I say that tells me a little bit more about them, especially if you did a good job with with your lead magnet to make it specific to the person you serve. Right now, like I'm going to put them towards probably the coolest end of my warm category. So don't overthink where the line is, right? Right. But again, don't assume anything either, because you still want to be able to connect with them and have a conversation. So yes, in my world, if you opt in for my freebie, you would be warmer than somebody who just liked a post. But again, I'm not going to assume. I'm going to, from there, take the next step. And I'm going to give you guys, would podcast listeners be cold or would they be considered? Yeah, here's the thing, Micaiah, with podcasts is that we don't usually have a way to know who's listening and how to connect with them. So yes, technically they are cold. Your goal, if you have a podcast, we'll talk about this tomorrow, is to warm up that conversation. And podcasts can be a great way to build trust, right? I can tell you like the number like of people, like I can picture where they are in my ear when I heard them say something and I was like, oh my goodness, I need what they have. I want to learn more. I want to connect with them on a different platform or in a more personal way or whatever. So, yes, you are using your podcast, but at this point, we don't know. I mean, they don't give us a list. Now, here's what I love, you guys. That private podcast that I use as my lead magnet, I can go in and see who has opted in, and I can see how many of the 10 episodes they listened to. So that way, when I follow up, I can specifically say, hey, I saw you listen to episode 1 and 2, and then I can ask a specific question about that. That's the benefit of a private podcast. I can go in and see who listened to the replay from yesterday, which isn't just like, oh, they're better than somebody else, but it just gives me information for when I connect with them. So private podcasts are a great strategy, and I'm always happy to share. I use a platform called Hello Audio. I'm actually going to be interviewed on their podcast in a couple weeks. But yeah, no, great questions. Keep asking questions. Anyway, so yeah, so the regular podcast you don't know, but with a private podcast you can know. So that is a good thing. If someone goes from the podcast to a Facebook group, yes, I would say, okay, now they've warmed up in some way, right? So yes, they've come into your world because you probably didn't know they were even listening to your podcast prior to that. Okay. Again, don't overthink it, but we're trying to go where are the categories. And the goal is going to move the relationship from the cooler areas to the warmer areas. But it starts by knowing what they need based on what they've told you, right? And your current level of relationship. And this is where we keep the game of catch going, right? As the business owner, you take the initiative to pick the ball back up. Don't assume that they will if they're interested or they didn't respond because they're not interested. The system that I teach will help you to connect with people 2 times per month. Not so long that it feels weird, but not so soon that it feels like invasive. 2 times a month is hardly anything, right? Likely they haven't thought about you since, and they'll be glad that you did, right? And we're doing it in a way that's serving and not selling, so it's not weird, okay? The mistake most people make is they start with the coldest leads first. The ones that are going to take the most time to invest, to warm up, to trust, to buy, right? When we've got those hot leads that are sitting right there, right? This week, I was reaching out to people who are currently working with me to offer them an opportunity to up level and accelerate their experience. I don't have to get on a sales call to have that conversation. I just get yeses all day long because they're like, yes. And right now, what I was offering them was a power hour. Like, how would you like a power hour where we can put our heads together for an hour and get all this stuff done? Right? I've also been reaching out to people that I've worked with in the past, right? Because these are people that if I make an offer, so there were a couple people a couple weeks ago that said, yes, I would love information on CEO Focus. I didn't hear back from them. So I reached back out today because it's been 2 weeks. And I just said, hey, like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. If you want, I did just open up a few power hours that you would qualify for. And here's what that would be, right? Because maybe just a one-time thing is what they need. And then if it makes sense, they can come, back into CEO Focus or jump back into CEO Impact, my 12-week program, right? Because here's the thing, with the hot leads, they already trust you. They're already hopefully getting results. Carrie, they've been in your chair, so they already like love how their hair looked and they're like, oh my goodness, I need that again. Or Sherry, they're like, oh wow, she represented me so well and I'm looking to sell my next house or I'm trying to, invest in something or whatever. Like, who are the people that already love you, right? Offer them an upsell to help them get a better result, to stay around longer, right? Like, think about your lifetime customer value, right? And how we can help those people keep getting better and better and better results, right? And then those people who used to work with you, right? Start re-engaging, stay connected. They will come back when they realize that all the secret sauce stuff they're chasing over here isn't working and they really need what you have to offer, or they really liked how you did business or whatever it is, right? And then we move into the warm leads and then we move into the cool leads, the cold leads. And I teach you how actually to do that using a Hello to Let's Go Power Hour schedule, right? And so that's part of the intensive next Tuesday, which is why you're going to want to be there. So we can go through, okay, like how do I make sure I'm touching all 3 parts and I'm not just focusing on one of these areas and neglecting the other ones? Okay, is that helpful before we move on? Because our next thing is going to be the next question that comes up for everybody. But before we move on, the categories, the types of leads, do you have any questions while that's fresh? Or how has this been helpful for you? Are you realizing that you're spending time in the right places? Or you feel like you've just been like, wow, I've just been chasing the cold ones or just trying to get more people even into the cold category and not even doing anything with the people who are in that cold category? I love that, Carrie. When I love an experience with someone, I shout them from the mountaintops. Yes, as business owners, we should be leaving reviews. If you want people to give you reviews, you need to, right, give reviews, right? I don't know if you noticed this morning, part of my Hello to Let's Go time, I took every single person's name who had registered for this event, and I went on your Facebook and I shouted something out, or did something to engage with your most recent content to help you get more visibility. Like that's what business owners do. We are not just, here to buy my stuff type thing. Like, how can we support and shout out other people? So I love that. I love that. Good, helpful. Good to think about people that we haven't been thinking about. Confirmation of your next plan. I love it. Someone in a networking group with interest would be warm. Yes. Yes. If you've talked with them in a networking group, yes. It's not just, I don't even know, I don't have no idea who you are and what you do or what you need. Yeah. Put them in the warm category. I love it. I've been trying to get people into the cold category and not nurturing the ones I already have. How many of us that is us, right? Okay, no more. It's okay. It's all right. No shoulda, woulda, couldas. We're here. Okay. All right. You can again feel free to drop more questions or ahas in there as we go. But once we know the level of relationship, right, what we're going to start doing next week is start building this out so you actually have the names to look at and you can see right where they are, right? The next question is always, Lisa, what do I say? I know this is the part where we like literally freeze. Okay, so guess what? Turn the page. I'm giving you what to say. I gave you two scripts for each category. And next week, if you're in CEO Focus and you come to join us, so Christy dropped that link in there if we haven't had it for a while. I'm going to give you a whole bunch more, right? Here's the thing. I've heard it said you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And while there is like sometimes, yes, I mean, you can totally stick your foot in their mouth and shut the conversation down. But I think there's a lot of truth to that. We spend way too much time overthinking what it is that we're going to say. So I have given you a couple of suggestions here so that these are templates. Make them your own, okay? Make them fit what you know about the person. This is just something to get started. So you're not like, I don't know what to say. Okay, so here, let's go through these examples. Hot lead. If you are a current client, I might reach out to you and say, hey, Lorian, I love that you're getting results. And I probably will reference some kind of results she's getting or something that's going on. I just opened up, for me, this week it's been power hours. I just opened up some power hours to help you really get, so it might be get your 12-week map, plan even more dialed in. It might be to help you figure out the schedule piece of things as to where you're making time for this, whatever I know they need, or just to accelerate your results. Curious? Interested? Would you like to know more? Like, again, there's no right or wrong way to say it, but I'm giving them a reason why I'm asking this and I'm asking the question. Easy, not hard. Someone you've already worked with. How can I help them get an even better experience? A past client. Hey, Susie, last time we talked, you were working on or needing or thinking about or whatever, fill in the blank. Okay. Is that still a priority for you? So this would be great for you, Sherry. Last time we talked, you were thinking about putting your house in the market. Is that still on your radar? What's your timeline, right? Again, put this in the context of whatever it is that you do. Somebody that you've worked with in the past in some way, shape, or form that's told something about them. How can we bring this back? Now, there's a whole lot of other things you can say. And like I said, I'll give some more templates to those of you guys who are with us next week, but at least a couple to get started, right? With some of those hot people. All right, in the warm category, maybe it's somebody who's done a consult with you. A lot of people do a discovery call or some kind of again, if you have more of a product-based service or product-based business, you might not have this, or if you have an in-person type thing, you might not have where you meet with somebody. But if you are an online coach or something like that, maybe you do some kind of an audit or a discovery call or a coffee chat. Here's what I say about coffee chats. CEOs don't do coffee chats because most of them are just either pick my brain or pitch my stuff. So be very wary of those. These look like you're doing text versus email. If you can, yes, Danielle, because again, 98% of texts get open. The percentage is way less on an email. If I don't have a phone number for somebody or a way to DM them, that's another thing is maybe I'm connected with them on another platform. Then I will send an email. And like we talked about yesterday, I will make sure that subject line is something very personal so that it stands out above all the noise in their inbox. But yes, if you can do this, in more of a personal way, great. I think that's always the best, but you can do it via an email if you have to. But great question. Okay, so consult. So hey, Sarah, really enjoyed our conversation about blank, whatever you guys talked about. You shared blank. Are you still wanting to work on that? So this is for somebody that you've already had this conversation. They're a right fit person. They just haven't like it's been like, okay, here's my credit card, or here's when I want to get started, or whatever that is. Right? So just circling back to that conversation. Or maybe someone who came to the workshop. Some of you may hear this from me. Hey, Sally, so glad you joined us for the Profitable Leads workshop. You shared blank. Oh, no, hold on. What was most helpful for you? I was looking at the wrong one, right? What was most helpful for you? What stood out? What do you need to, what's the step you need to take next, right? Like, so I'm going to ask some kind of a question based on what was going on in there. Okay. Now, just because somebody registered doesn't mean they actually watched, right? So that's why if you're here live, you are warmer than somebody who just registered. I don't know, but that's okay. I'm still going to ask that. And it may prompt them to be like, oh, yeah, I want to go listen to the replay, right? And then the cold category, if somebody new comes into your world, could be in any area, like maybe they just opted in for something, maybe they joined your Facebook group, maybe they started following you on social. Hey, Sarah, thanks for the follow. Thanks for grabbing my free lead magnet. Thanks for joining the community. Thanks for, coming, whatever the thing is, right? Maybe you posted something about an event you're hosting or whatever it is, okay? And then let them know, like, hey, I create resources for who's your ideal person so they can, whatever it is that you help them do, would that be helpful for you? And again, based on if you have a product or a service, whether you're in person or online, you're just going to tweak this for whatever it is, right? But if somebody new comes in, right, like ask some questions, especially if, you don't know anything about this person or you think you know something about them, like ask something about them so you can have some, kind of figure out where do they fit. And then I put this last one in here because I know that like we all run into this thing where like somebody isn't responding and they're quote ghosting us or we think they are. Don't tell yourself a story that they don't want this or they are no longer interested or whatever, because that may or may not be the case, right? But it can be simple as, hey, Sarah, I've been trying to connect with you. Is everything okay? Like super simple. I've had people that have been like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like I saw your message and then I blah, 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 then this happened or whatever. Like, and then we got a conversation going, right? It had nothing to do with the fact that they weren't interested. You are using permission-based questions to move the conversation forward, right? And we're just getting curious. That's the biggest rule. I don't like that message. That's okay. So maybe it's not that one, right? But that's just something of just like, I don't know, just something that's kind of a pattern interrupt. That's not just you asking the same question over and over and over again. So yeah, make it different. And then I will give some other options next week in that bigger template one. I just pulled one of them for today. I do if I forgot to reply. Yeah, right. It's okay. We all forget to reply. I went into somebody today that I realized she had sent me a pretty long message and I didn't have time in the moment to reply. I didn't mark it as unread. And then when I had sent her a message with a replay yesterday, and then I realized, oh shoot, I never responded. That's okay. I went back and said, I'm so sorry. Let me respond to this other one that you put in here. And guess what? The other person on the other end is probably not going to do that because they're probably not even coming back to that thread. So that's why we just picked the ball back up as the CEO. Yeah, ask people for prayer requests. That's a great option. How can we be praying for you? What's going on in your world? Maybe you ask them personal questions if you've been, focusing on something that was more, business related. And we talked yesterday about like not getting stuck in the friend zone, right? So just like don't be afraid. Like they know you're in business, right? So like if they raised their hand in some way, shape, or form because of your business, it's okay if you are asking a question or having a conversation that's something to do with your business. Okay. Questions, thoughts, other things on some of these, what to say. See how they're a little bit different based on what category somebody is in? Yes, and keep notes because you think you remember things about people. I love that, right? Like keep notes on people. Just jot it down. If there's something they tell you, just jot it down. Somebody tells me I'm going on this trip, I will jot it down. And when I follow up, I'm like, hey, how was that trip? Or something that's going on, or I don't know, whatever, right? Like be curious, be a human, right? Care about people. I think that's really the main thing is that we're caring about other people and we're actually taking the initiative to reach out and to be consistent in that. And what you may or may not have seen yesterday, if you did this with me, is that you might get a response right away and you may not, but either way, you just reminded them of what maybe they need or want and how amazing it was to work with you or how, they were thinking about that before. And, it's staying top of mind, right? It makes you stand out when everybody else is just relying on automations and things to go into their inboxes and hoping that they're going to see them. right? And this is how I was talking with somebody today who is working on launching something. And so she's not ready to serve people in this area yet. And she was like, should I wait to do this until after she's launching a podcast? I said, actually, I think you should start doing this to some level so that you aren't in, like we said yesterday, creation cave, right? And then I come up and then there's nobody to talk to. And now I have to get that ball rolling from scratch. If someone said yes and you sent them info, what's a good way to follow up when you haven't heard back? That's a great question, Nikki. Just the fact that you took the time to actually circle back. So, for example, this morning there were some people who asked for information. So I just circled back with a question, just saying, "Hey, just circling back. What excited you, or what interested you, or what questions do you have about, whatever it was that you sent them? Is that something you're still interested in? Is that something you're still looks like you need?" I think those are some of the easiest ones to respond to, right? Or, to send the thing because they already asked for it. You just haven't heard. So you're just like, hey, what'd you think? Do you think this would be helpful for you? Whatever that is. Great question. And again, the goal is one question above that. Sorry, did I miss one? Okay. Do you keep notes in their workflow card or in a Google Doc spreadsheet linked to them? You can do whatever you want. Um, yeah, well, back in the day, if you remember, I told you this yesterday, I used to have these like printed out lists, and I think there were like 40 spots on a list, and it was multiple pages. And so I only had so many lines per person, and eventually there'd be so tiny or whatever, I couldn't read anymore. And by that point, I probably filed that list and assumed they weren't interested, and then just moved on to my fresh list. But so honestly, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to say a paper system is probably not the most effective way. For everybody who's in my How Little Let's Go system, they have their own card, and I can put as many notes in there as I want. You could do it in a Google Doc if you want to, right? Like I like that it's right there with them with their contact information, and it's not like a spreadsheet where I can't see it, where it's like hidden because of the cell only being so long. So that's how I do it. So that way I've got whatever information I need. Airtable, okay, love it. If you've reached out over and over with no response, do you stop? Well, here's where you get to decide. We talked about this yesterday. And remember, they willingly raised their hand and came into your world for something. So you are just doing your part of giving them the support that they were, asking for, seeing if they need it, right? So again, here's where, like, I have had people that, yeah, I followed up with for a really long time, and then they were finally ready. And that's okay. So here's where, like, not every time you're going to be like, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Because now you're going to be annoying. They're going to be like, stop. Right? But again, maybe you go and you find them on social and you comment on something going on. That could be your touch point, right? Maybe you're like, hey, I just did a podcast episode on this. I thought this might be encouraging to you. Send them a link. Like, it doesn't always have to be like you're adding value, right, to the relationship. So in my world, I shared this yesterday. Once you're on my list, there are only three ways to get off my list. Well, technically two, but one, you say yes and you come into my world, which just puts you in a, different category because like I just showed you, I'm still connecting with you and helping you get results and things like that. Two, you say, please don't ever contact me again, which I totally respect and not a problem. Or three, one of us goes out of business or is no longer, anymore. So yeah, if you don't tell me otherwise, I'm not going to make any assumptions, but I'm also going to be, like mindful, so that I'm not being annoying, right? So that's, there's not a hard and fast, but any other questions? Okay, do you remember the story I told you yesterday of what happened when I did exactly what I'm teaching you? Somebody said, I was thinking about you and thinking about jumping back into your coaching. But had she reached out? Had she said anything? No. But because I reached out, we had a conversation about where she was and what she needed, right? Good thing that I have a Hello to Let's Go schedule system and strategy, right? So the longer you wait to focus on building out this thing for your leads, the longer you're missing the opportunity in your current leads. And the longer that those new leads that do come in are going to fall through the cracks, and the longer it's going to take to see results and move the needle. What difference do you think it would make if you took the next 12 weeks to build out your Hello to Let's Go strategy system and schedule? If you said this is a main focus, it doesn't mean we don't do anything else in business, but this is getting some focused time, intentional time. I've got a plan to build my business. Would that help you with not only making sales with the people that you currently have in your world, but also with people that come into your world in the future? Like, I don't see how it can't, right? So now that you know the types of leads, right? And have some ideas of what to say. Now, here's that question that you were asking, right? About how do you keep track of the leads, right? You have to have a system that is organized, segmented, and tagged so that, right, like you aren't dropping the ball and you know where people are, right? When I had that like stapled together pack of paper, there were hot, warm, and cold all mixed in the same place. My brain was so confused. I didn't even know what, which who I was supposed to be following up with, what we, like yes, I tried to take notes on there, but like it was really easy to lose track. There wasn't room to write stuff down. I was jumping from one type of lead to the next, right? I was wasting time and not seeing much results, and a lot of them fell in the cracks. And then, I eventually laid those lists down, right? So here is where, right? Like you will only be able to stay connected and continue to have conversations with people if you are organized and you're paying attention to the things they're telling you. So, how do I organize? Yes, we're in a digital age, right? I don't recommend just relying on an email platform or the back end of your Facebook group or something like, like even your program, because you can't clearly see what level they're at, where they are. So you can use a spreadsheet. I use what I told you yesterday called Meister Task, which I will show you what it looks like on the workshop next week, where I create cards for each person. I have tags. I can assign dates. There are columns so that I can move, like as different things happen in that relationship, I can move them based on what they have raised their hand for or said yes to or what they've told me, right? So this is like, and yeah, like just even knowing how to do that system is worth the entire program, right? Because the key right now is to start collecting all of your hot, warm, and cold leads from all the places they are and put them in one place. I have a client who I'm working with right now who actually teaches people CRM stuff. And she even has seen a need to do this because leads fall through the cracks when they're just in her CRM. Okay, so we have to start paying attention. Where are your hot leads? Right? Go back and start looking at who are my current clients, who are my past clients and alumni, who are people that have purchased something from me. Open up your Stripe or your PayPal or whatever it is and start collecting those people in one place. Where are your warm leads? Maybe they're on your email list. Maybe they're in your Facebook group or community. Maybe they registered for something. Again, it's all going to be based on your business and your customer journey. And then start paying attention to your cold leads, right? The social followers, the phone contacts, you may be like, Lissa, I've got 300 people in my Facebook group. That's going to take time to reach out. Yep. But if they raise their hand in some way, right? Like what if you reaching out, what if out of that 300, you had 20 people who were like, oh my goodness, yes, this is exactly what I need, or I'd love to learn more or whatever. Like, would that be worth taking some time over time to do some reach outs and find out kind of where they're at and what they need? Otherwise, if you don't want to invest time, you can pay. Okay. And that is a strategy. We'll talk about it tomorrow. You can pay for ads and that does work, right? But you still have to have all this stuff in order to convert them. So, right. You still need both, right? But especially if you're like, I don't have money to like be paying for leads, then what can we do with the leads you already have? Because your leads are the lifeblood of your business. They are essential, right, to what it is that you're wanting to do before, especially you go invest money or time in shiny funnels, right? And remember, the colder they are, the more volume you need or the more time you need to warm them up, which is why Hello to Let's Go system is going to help you not waste all of that. Okay. So if you think you need more leads, remind yourself, I already have leads, right? How can I start engaging in a conversation? How can I start connecting with them? How can I consistently be top of mind and adding value so that, right, when the time is right, then we're able to make that, that connection happen. How are you staying connected with people you've already worked with new people who are coming in and everyone in between, right? So this is how we don't be slimy or spammy because it's not just carbon copy, cut and paste for everybody. Like we're paying attention to where they are, what they came in for, what they told us, that kind of thing, right? Remember, they came to you because of what you have to offer. They know you have a business. Do you get mad at your favorite store for sending you emails or texts about things you said that you needed or wanted? No, right? You're also not offended if you're in a store and somebody walks up to you and says, hey, how can I help you? right? So why do we feel bad, like we're bothering people, if we're following up with someone who has raised their hand? They've come into our store, quote unquote, whether it's a storefront or whether it's an online thing, right? They raise their hand in some way because they want or need or whatever. And if no longer, they can just say, no, no, thank you, right? And that's great, right? But here's where our consistency and frequency with our time is going to produce results, right? And that's why I teach how to do a hello to let's go power hours, right? Or maybe it's like we said yesterday, maybe it's 20 minutes at a time. What if, what if you had a system and you just had pockets of 10 minutes throughout the day that you were doing that? That would work too, right? But I don't want us to miss out on the untapped resources that are right in front of us. Okay. So, let me just think if there's anything else that I want to share with you right now. We talked about not assuming where people are. We talked about remembering that not everybody remembers us or what they asked from for us. So we are serving them to follow up to help them to get that. Um, yeah. And if they're not the right fit person, that's okay, right? It's okay if they are no longer needing what you have, or if they just aren't in, they're not at that place in whatever it is that they need for that. So this is what CEO Focus is for. This is not for everyone, and that's okay, right? This is for the business owner who's not interested in just building a hobby, where it just costs you time and money, but you actually want to create results. You don't have time to waste chasing shiny objects and squirrels, right? Because you are compelled to make kingdom impact. And you probably have a life outside of business that you also want to be present to, right? Like there are people, hundreds, if not thousands, out there praying for exactly what you have to offer, right? And many of them are already in our world. So this is where stewardship meets our systems, right? Where we're going to multiply and expand. We already have our time and our leads and start seeing the results, right? And start making the time to do something with them. Because if we say we don't have time for something, like say, for example, we say, I don't have time for follow-up. What we are saying then is what I have to offer isn't valuable enough, and neither are the people who've raised their hand, right? So remember, you have time, you have leads, you just need a system and a schedule and a strategy that's going to help move this forward, right? And that's what we can work on together inside CEO Focus if you want to come and join us. And then you can be part of that workshop that we're doing next week because our leads are not random names in a list. They're people that God already placed in our path for a reason. So when we take the time to do what we've done today, to categorize, to prioritize, and then to systemize our follow-up, we're not just organizing contacts, right? We're stewarding relationships, right? Because profitability isn't about chasing new, it's about nurturing what's already in our hand. And we treat our leads like, the value that they are, right? Pretend they're seeds, right? We are nurturing them. The fruit will come when it's the right season. I hope this has been helpful for you today. And like I said, if you want to jump in and join us inside CEO Focus and start doing this work together, I would love to do that with you. Christy dropped the link in there. If you have further questions and you're like, I'm not sure about this or how does this apply to me, let's have a conversation. I would love to talk to you about it. And again, if you are coming on while we're in one of these lives, we've got one more, and there are a couple more of those one-on-one spots. You get one of those one-on-one strategy sessions. We're going to sit down and look at your audience and your leads, and we're going to talk about who goes into which categories and what your categories should be and how to set up your system and all the things, right? Like I want this to be like working for you so you can really get some results. All right, tomorrow is our day 3. We're going to turn up the momentum, okay? In day 3, we're going to talk about the power lead levers that you can pull to start attracting right fit leads consistently. Okay. So if you've been wondering, like, how do I keep my lead pipeline full? Like what happens when I start, like I've already worked through all the people that are in front of me, right? Here's where, yes, we always want to be connecting with new people because we don't want, that well, like we talked about yesterday, to dry up. We don't want more people exiting than we have coming in. Otherwise, we're going to have the ebbs and flows in business, right? So we're going to talk tomorrow about how we can do that. But I'm going to make you a pinky promise if you come back tomorrow because you want to know how do I attract more of the right fit leads consistently, it's only going to be because you've already done the work we talked about in day 1 and day 2. Like discovering that connection is the real way, right, to help bridge the gap and having a system around the people that are currently here. Okay. And then tomorrow, you ready for this? Our live only bonus tomorrow is going to be some in real time networking with other business owners. So you can find some connections and collaborations right on our workshop tomorrow. Okay. Your next client, your next connector, your next collaborator might be in the room. So be here if you're able to at 11:30 Central Standard Time. And we will not only be talking about how can you be bringing in more leads faster. So it's not just one at a time, but like in big, bigger volume. But we'll also then have that opportunity to get to make some connections and see what kind of collaboration things that we can do. So the replay from today will go up on the private podcast feed. So yes, Christy just put that link in here. If you're listening to this replay and if you're listening to this replay, you should have the link. But if you're somewhere and you're hearing this and you're like, Lissa, I need to be able to access the replays, get in touch with me either at lissa@redeemhertime.com, or if you and I have a text thread going or a messenger thread or whatever, just let me know you need the link and I'd be happy to get it your way. All right, before we go, I love that you're here. I love that you're leaning in and you've got some specific more templates that you can use. I'm going to encourage you to send some messages before you go and do anything else. Before you go and do anything else, unless it's go to the bathroom, that's okay. Go do that, right? But I would love to hear before we go any ahas or any questions that you have. Remove my pin so I can see you guys. What's been helpful today? What do you have a question about? What are you not sure about? What are you excited about? What are you committing to do? Anyone who's on live? If you're listening to the replay, I want to hear too.
Sure, I'll go. One of the ahas that I have is I started building out that dashboard, that hello, let's go contact cards with the that I know you're going to talk about. But now actually taking people and putting them on there, because the contact that I was looking at it and like, oh, the contact that I reached out yesterday, I didn't put her in that system. And so even though I reached out, I'm not tracking it. And so that has been helpful to go and start updating the actual place where all of these are being housed. So I'm not just sending the emails without having a record of that
I
and the
love
date
it.
that I reached out.
Yeah, so there'll be a part of it where you're collecting people, right? But once you've at least got the bones of it built, like we can keep going back and spending time to go to these other places, right? Go through your emails, go through, your groups or whatever where you need to bring people over in there. But then once you have this system built, even if all those people aren't in it yet, moving forward, then you're going to do exactly what you said, Danielle. Like, okay, I reached out to this person to follow up. They get added right now while they're top of mind. And then we just start building that forward. So there's like this part of like building forward and also building with those other people. All right. Carrie had a question about, yeah, do we have live calls? And if so, when are they? So we do weekly accountability calls on Monday morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. They are not required. Not everybody who's in CEO Focus comes because some people have a full-time job. Or some people don't work on, don't do their business on Mondays, and that's okay. You also get access to an inner circle where there is accountability and an opportunity to ask questions and things like that. But there is something about being in the room, showing up. We share our CEO praise from the last week, whether it's in life, business, faith, it doesn't matter. What's God doing? We then each share what it was that we were accountable to last week and what kind of results we saw, what lessons we learned, right? What things happened, because nothing ever goes perfectly as planned. And then we talk about what are we committing to this week. And there's an opportunity to ask questions, get feedback, get some insights from other people. So it's really a helpful time and a great way to start the week with intention. So anyway, yeah, those are available. We do those on Monday mornings, but they are not required. So just don't let that be what keeps you from it, because I've had plenty of people come in who just take advantage of all the other pieces of it and get just as much results from it. So I love this aha that I've got 1,288 leads. Right now, I'm not saying you have to reach out to all of them today, but how can you start, investing time to make some connections and ask some questions and see where people are at? Other questions, let's see. I have leads. That's good. Aha. I just lost it. Okay. I'm reaching out now. Good. Commitment to work on my lead management board. Yes. Good. Good. I'd like to know more about good. Okay. I will connect with you, Carrie, for sure. Yay. Okay. Well, I'm glad that time would work for you. So good. All right. And I'm happy to hang on, Carrie. If you just want to talk now, we can totally do that too. If anybody wants, if you've got specific questions and things like that. So thanks you guys for being here. I'm hanging out. I pray this has been valuable. It's really only going to be valuable if you actually do something with it. Right? So before you go do anything else or get sucked into something else, what would happen if you just send 1, 2, 3 messages? Okay, like let's keep this ball rolling. Yesterday we sent a couple messages. I'm gonna encourage you today to just like, again, make some more connections and start having a way that you track them, like Danielle talked about. And then come join us and I'll show you all the back end stuff. So, all right. Well, thanks for being here today. I will hang on if anyone else has any other questions as well. Otherwise, I will see you guys back here for day 3 tomorrow.